Sunday was a normal Sunday. Yesterday, offense, defense, and special teams we spent on a comprehensive self-scout study. Say that 3 times fast. Of the first 6 games. First and second down, third down, red zone, goal line. What have our offensive and defense, special teams issues been? How are people attacking us or defending us? So we spent all day doing that. I had a couple of speaking engagements. And then today we met, we practiced, worked on special teams, a lot of fundamentals and technique for the older guys. They had a 7-on-7 and used it as a developmental practice. So got the red shirts and some of the guys who don't play a lot of reps in 7-on-7 and team. We'll do the same thing tomorrow, and Friday and Saturday we'll be on road. Oh, I'm sorry, Thursday and Friday we'll be on road recruit.
When will you move on to LSU? Get some stuff in early on them.
Sunday, yes, sir.
What's your main focus this week?
For the players, recharge mentally, rehab physically, work on their academics. So that's kind of the broad strokes perspective. But for us, it's kind of a self-analysis. Keeping the guys fresh with some work, and then developing the younger guys who are redshirts or don't play much, and then recruit.
Is everybody still? I know a couple of weeks before we play a game, but everybody's still kind of day to day from an injury standpoint. Jamal,
yeah, if you ask me specifically, I can.
Okay.
It gets to be a little bit not lengthy, but I don't want to forget anybody.
Jamal
Peters, we are cautiously optimistic for him for LSU. And would be upgraded from indefinitely to day to day with obviously the lower body, but feeling better and better about him as the days progress.
Brian
Cole, same thing. Yes.
Same thing, and Daryl.
And Daryl, same thing. Everyone day to day, but I'd kind of put them all in the same category. Very, pretty optimistic that they'll be back.
You guys are #1 in the country right now in scoring defense.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, is it what you expected? What's the good? Obviously not much bad, but just why do you think that group's performing so well right now?
A couple things. I think we have a bunch of talent on defense, and anytime you have a front 7, with guys like Jeffrey and Montez and all the other guys across the board, and they're playing hard and they're playing physical, and the coaching staff is putting a good plan in place that allows them to be in position to be successful, and then they're going out playing hard and making plays. So it's a combination of those things.
Were you a little worried? I know that with Shoop's defense, a little different, just the formations and everything. Were you worried there might be some growing pains with that? And why do you think the transition has gone so well halfway through the season?
I wouldn't say I'm necessarily worried. Last year's defense and this year's defense, both 3-down and 4-down fronts. It's a little bit different tweaks, a little bit different variations, but had the utmost confidence in Coach Shoop from his track record as a coordinator to places he's been. I think we've assembled a very good staff on that side of the ball. I think they relate to the players well. I think they do a good job motivating them. And obviously when you combine good coaching with good players and they execute well on game day, I think this is a result.
With Nick, early on it was tweaks to a throwing motion, then it was getting fully functional within this system. What's the next step for him in terms of development as a passer?
I'd say the next step would be to see improvement, incremental improvement in his ability to read defenses, know where to go with the ball and why, stand in the pocket with confidence and delivering the ball accurately. So I wouldn't say it's one specific thing or a couple of things, but kind of a grouping of all that put together. Just a general progression in all those different areas.
Another big week for Tez, to SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week, and another national award. How much does it help you offensively as an offensive coach to have a guy like Tez, a pass rusher in the league? He's got several good pass rushers and things to go against that in practice.
No, it's awesome. it's sometimes going to be a little bit of a pain because you have a hard time getting the pass off sometimes, particularly in spring ball early on. But I think iron sharpens iron, and when you have an opportunity to go against guys like Montez, Jeffrey, and all those other guys, it's like sink or swim. The guys they got to get better, or they're going to get embarrassed. And I think going against quality player like Montez and those guys is really helped develop us up front.
Have you ever had to tell Montez, like, hey, stop screwing up the offense?
No,
you know what I mean?
We wouldn't want to do that. We tell our guys to block better.
The motion plays that y'all showed a good bit for the first time tonight. How concerned were you about you previously practice it all the time, but actually do it in the game, especially with the tight timing with the back being so close to the snap there.
The motion part of it, yeah. The good thing was that I think we only did a tiny bit of it in spring ball, but during our installation in fall camp, there was 2 days devoted strictly to empty formations in our motion package. So we hit it there, and then touched on it a little bit prior to this game in the season, but really never saw the light of day. Ended up on the cutting room floor, I guess you'd say. But of any week to break it out, this was definitely the one.
How much confidence did Saturday night do for your offensive line to have some success after a couple of weeks where it was kind of shaky?
Yeah, I think for the offensive line and for all of us in general, you look back to the first 3 games, and you take the Kansas State one, and they are generally regarded as a pretty good defense and a pretty good front. We had a lot of success moving the ball there, and obviously the next 2, we struggled and didn't run it a ton, and when we did, it wasn't incredibly successful. So to come out against, and I'll say it again, a defensive front of that caliber, the players they have, how hard they play, and how well they're coached, and have that kind of success, I think they kind of got their stinger back a little bit.
How much more is left on the cutting room floor?
How much room is left?
How much more is left on the cutting room floor in terms of wrinkles in the run game?
I'd say there's not probably many more plays per se, but the presentation of them and how we get to them, I'd say there's not a ton left, but a decent amount of how we can end up in a formation to snap the ball, but kind of make it look like it's something else. And the key to that is when you line up in the static formation, running plays out of that, so it's always not motion into the backfield or across the formation. So we have a whole laundry list of plays where the back doesn't have to shift back in the backfield. We just line up and run.
We're going to have to cut that part out.
Take 2.
With this opening day and then half a season left, will there be an evaluation on how to script maybe some of the freshmen who haven't reached their 4-game limit yet and how to get them in the rest of the way?
Yeah, we had Brule active for this past game because we had some injuries. Every Monday we do that, so we didn't do it this past Monday because it's bye week, but next Monday we will. And we kind of had the Tech game earmarked, and then the bowl game is another one where we would knock on wood, we keep playing the way we're playing. Those are the 2 that we've allotted, but injuries and necessity would allow us to kind of activate someone else in a different game.
You were joking after the game about taking your coaching pills and everything like that. As you've had 6 games with Nick and everything, has it even just the uniqueness of his skill set, the way he runs the ball, has there been surprises with him? I mean, did you, I guess just what's been the process of coaching him over half a year?
I think he's a very apt pupil. I think he's competitive and wants to know all the kind of subtleties and nuances of the game, including the pass game. And I know a lot of our attention was devoted to his development as a drop back passer, and I think he'll continue to make improvements there. But I think I've grown a lot in 6 games this year and learning about the players and what they can do, and obviously them learning about us as well. So I don't think there's a coach out there that doesn't I said leadership requires in times of adversity looking in the mirror, not out the window, and that's the big thing you got to do is make sure it's not what we know, it's what they can execute, and I think that was important for this last game.
Is there, this may be the wrong phrase, but is there an element of like swallowing your pride a little bit as far as the passing game and saying, hey, we actually run the ball well, let's just do this?
No, I wouldn't. I don't necessarily think I'd say pride with it. I mean, pride in the sense that it hurts me. I mean, I take a lot of pride in our history of success passing the football and our ability to do it here, but ultimately, there's a couple stats that matter. The wins and losses, and for offensively speaking, the points we put on the board. So whatever we got to do to put it in the end zone.
LSU and Auburn, just to me anyway, look sort of similar. They struggle a little bit offensively, but they're very, very good defensively. How much can you take from the game plan against Auburn and bring it to LSU?
Well, we just started looking at that. Forgot to mention that. In the mornings today and tomorrow, we'll be doing the LSU game plan. But so we just started that a little bit this morning. I actually was just watching the La Tech game before I came up here, so I'm not ready to make a definitive statement about that. But from a couple of games, I'd say there are a lot of similarities between the two from a talent standpoint, speed, athleticism, how well they're coached. Obviously, Dave Rand is regarded as one of the top defensive minds in the country. So it'll be a great challenge.
Going back to running versus passing, do you feel like you guys found an identity the other night? There's a lot of people saying that might be the case.
Found an identity. That's a good question. I hope our identity is one that we're able to put points on the board regardless of how the ball gets there. But certainly, I think as we probably talked about before, we'll that's probably not the right word, we'll gravitate more towards what's working best. So, moving forward for the last 6 games, if we're running the ball better than we're throwing it, and that's helping us get in the end zone, then we're going to run more. But I think we all know, that there's going to be a point in time when we're either behind or, defenses are doing a good job bottling up the run that we're going to have to, use the pass game to be successful and score some points. So I don't want to put all the proverbial eggs in that basket, but, certainly if that's what we're doing better, then that's what we're going to lean on.
How confident are you if that situation arises, or when that situation arises?
Always confident.
Going back to the offensive line, you obviously mentioned that I forget the phrase that you just used, but they got their mojo back.
Yeah. Stinger back.
Stinger back.
Yeah.
What do you think it was? Was it mentality or something they were doing different physically?
I think it probably had a lot to do with our success early on, and once they saw that we were able to pop some runs in there, and you go up against guys like that, and you're able to generate some success. I think that becomes it provides a lot of positive momentum. I think that probably had a lot to do with it.
And how refreshing was it to see that, given you guys were kind of banged up there, and you had to have some guys step up?
Yeah, Daryl's one of our top guys. And for the other guys, obviously you talk all the time about next man in. I know it's incredibly cliche, but that cultural aspect of our program, not just there, but with Landers, stepping in for Cole, and you probably have 3 or 4 other examples of that throughout the game. I thought that was a positive step for the team and for our culture.
Do you think offensive balance is kind of an overrated term, or do you think in an
Balance.
optimal world that the perfect offense would be 50% running and 50%
Yeah, I saw Coach
passing?
Leach's press conference on
right.
that. That was pretty interesting. 50%. I think it's as much about dispersal of the ball to playmakers, and in conjunction with production more than anything. So I historically in this offense, we operate the best when we're running the ball successfully. The numbers have kind of been like at the highest 55% to 45% one way or the other, but each year's the fabric of each season's woven differently. So if it has to be more run, then it's got to be more run.